Ow. Nothing I can do about that. Alright. Today I'm going to show you how to knit a beanie. It is the best first project to do because it's really quick, really simple. You can probably get it done in a day. I can usually get it done in just a couple of hours. So yeah, I would say this is the best first project to do as a beginner knitter. So I'm using these colours today. It's always fun picking out the colours. You can have a little colour story. So this is what I'm doing. It's also a great gift. So I'm giving this to my boyfriend's brother's girlfriend for her birthday. So let's go. My wool is 8-ply. I'll be using 3.25mm needles and 4mm needles. So I'm just going to start by casting on. If you don't know how to do knitting basics, like how to cast on and do stitches, my very first video shows you how to do all that. So go check out that one first, but otherwise let's do this. So casting on 80 stitches and using our 3.25mm needles first. Keep the tension nice and loose because this is the part that's going to be the band around the head, so you don't want it to be too tight, otherwise it'll be uncomfortable. Let me know if you guys are going to make this. Like, I'd love to see what colours you use, what style you do, so please tag me in photos or DM them to me on Instagram because I'd love to see. So that is 80 stitches casted on. Now we're going to do a basic 2x2 rib stitch. So that means knitting 2, purling 2, knitting 2, etc. the whole way, and when you flip it you just do the opposite to make sure you have a ribbing. Do that until the work measures 5 inches. So 2x2 rib, 5 inches. Go. So I've just done a couple of rows, but you can see this is what your work should look like. You should have this pattern with the ribbing. And yeah, so because it's 80 stitches and it's even, it turns out that every row you just start with knitting 2. So that's easy, you don't have to really remember. But also when you get to this stage, you can see what needs to come next. Like, okay, so now it's measuring 5 inches. So the reason it looks like pretty long is because I'm planning on having that folded. So this would be the part that goes here. So that's a pretty good length. So now, because I have multicolours, I'm going to change my colour and I'm going to start knitting in a stocking knit stitch. So that's when you knit the first row and then purl the next row, and you continue to do that alternating each time. But if you wanted, you could keep going with this rib pattern. And I'm also going to change to my 4mm needles. Yeah. So the way that I change my wool over is on the first row, I'll just keep knitting with the same colour, and then I'll just tie a knot on. And the reason why I don't do it at the start of the row is because I want to make sure that the knot is concealed behind the work. So if you were to put the knot here, it might stick out. Beanies are a lot of fun because you can really personalize them. So you can do whatever colours you want. You can do whatever pattern you want. So with this one, I'm doing my rib and then stocking knit stitch. But you can really do whatever you want. You could do stocking knit stitch the whole way. You could do a 1x1 rib. So really it's a great first project because you're basically just knitting like a rectangle, to be honest, with a little bit of shaping. So yeah. So I've just knit 2 rows, but as you can see, the knot has landed here, and later on we can just snip off those ends and it'll be pretty seamless. And there's the front. You can't really see the colour change yet because it's still on the loop, but yeah, if you want to follow along and do the same, if you want to follow along and do 4 colours with me, then at this stage, knit in your new colour for 2.5 inches. Okay, so now this is measuring 7.5 inches, the whole thing, and this area is 2.5. So I'm going to switch to my next colour. Okay, so now you've added on that other colour, keep knitting until it is 2.5 inches. Or if you're just doing one solid colour, then knit until your whole piece from the start is 10 inches. Okay, so now that I've done that, I'm going to add on my last colour, but at the same time, on every single alternate row, so every time you reach a knit row, we're going to drop 6 stitches. And we're going to spread them out really randomly, because otherwise you're going to create otherwise it's going to look too perfect. So I'll be dropping a stitch like here, 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 here. And the next time I'll do it, randomly. So 6 stitches on every alternate row. Let's go. And just in case you don't know, a way to decrease a stitch is just instead of grabbing 1 stitch when you knit, you loop 2 together. So instead of putting one thing in, you grab the 2 and just knit 2 at the same time, and that will drop a stitch. Yeah, keep doing that on every alternate row until you get down to only 14 stitches on your needle. Okay, so now I've gone down to 17 stitches. Don't know how that happened. Maybe I accidentally knitted an extra one. Doesn't really matter. 17's fine as long as it's sort of close to 14. So now, get the string that's attached to your piece in the yarn. Just make it like double the length of the piece and then snip it. And now using a wool needle, we're going to thread that through. Just tie 1 knot just so you make sure it stays on. Then, using that thread, we're going to slip off each stitch onto the thread. They're all off into this needle. So now the fun part is just now pull the needle. You pull it all the way, and that's the point of your beanie. So you can see, like, if you hold it together, now it's off the thing, that's your beanie. So what I'll do is just connect it. And I'll do that. If you see, you can see that that's like creating a circle. So I'll just connect it here by tying a few knots. That's the first knot. I tied it quite tight. Pretty much closes the hole. I'm not going to tie it too tight because I am going to add a pom-pom. So I'm going to leave like a little bit of space there. But if you didn't want a pom-pom, this would be where you just tie it as closely as you can. Okay, so I've tied my knot. Now you can see this is already wanting to connect to each other. So I'm just going to do a seam stitch and connect that whole line down using the string that's already attached. So you can watch how I do that in my previous video, which is the knitting a kids jumper. So basic tutorial though is down. So basic tutorial is down this line. We're going to, as close as we can to that knot we tied, insert our needle into 2 stitches on one side, pull that through, and then on the other side, same thing, as close as we can to the knot, pull it through 2 as well. It's difficult to see, but, and you basically do that the whole way. So I'll then go do this side again, 2 stitches, da 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 da, like a zigzag, and every couple inches I'll pull it. While I'm doing this, I'll just talk. So this is how you knit a beanie with normal regular needles. So you can do it knitting in the round. You can get knitting needles that have a string attached to it, so it's actually like on a loop, so you can just keep knitting round and round, and you don't have to do this step at the end where you have to stitch it together. But I already spent money buying all these needles that are all the right sizes. I don't want to have to do that again if I can avoid it. So yeah, basically if you have any project that requires you to knit with round knitting needles, all you do is just add on 2 stitches to the work, and then at the end just seam it together. So as you can see, I've made that zigzag pattern by going in and out, and then if I just pull on this gently, it then combines it. There, so I've pulled on that, and that's pretty good, I'd say. So I'll just go all the way down until I reach the bottom. I always do this stage, so you always do the seaming stage with the right side of the work facing upwards, because that's just how the stitch works. No better way to describe it. So just always do this stitch the right way. So I can show you, that's the inside. So you see how they grab together, and the outside is seamless. See how mine's kind of wonky? It's not that big a deal. Just try and avoid that. So now, so that doesn't happen with all of the lines, I'm gonna grab like 3 extra on one side. And while you're doing this, it's good to know that you're doing it like symmetrical, because it's cut in half, you should be mirroring it. So if I'm knitting it down and attaching it, and I see that the lines are connected like this, obviously I haven't grabbed it right. So when you get to each different color block, they should line up. That's how you know that you're doing it right. If for some reason they're not really aligned, but it's not that hard to tell, you can just, instead of grabbing like 2 stitches on one side, you can grab 3 to like sort of catch up. So now that I've gotten to the end, I'm just going to tie these 2 pieces together. I'm going to tie that loosely. Then I'll show you. I'm going to flip this inside out. I found a cool new way to disguise the strings if it's close to the work. So just thread the string, just do one at a time. Thread the string back through your wool needle. I learned this trick from weaving actually. So I've got my string came out from here. So just going up this line, I'm just going to insert my needle through like roughly 3 rows. Just pull that up, just so you can see it's away from the edge. And then I'm just going to tie that in a knot here. And then you can cut that wool quite close to the knot. And I'll do that with the other string. And then snipping that quite close. So as you can see, my first knot I did is here. The second knot I did is here. You can barely even see that, so that's pretty cool. And then where I've gone and changed the wool through these pieces, you can see you could do that same thing. But I'm actually just going to snip it. So I snipped it kind of close. It's okay if they're sort of hanging out a little bit. You see I'm just snipping that. And that's done. So now I'll flip it back around. Here's the beanie. And I'm going to fold that first bit, so it's like this. And there you have it. Do this all the way. This is the beanie just on its own. So you can see it's got this cool ribbing, and the colour change and all that kind of stuff. But we are going to make a pom-pom now. So grab a piece of cardboard. If you don't have cardboard, you could probably use like really thick paper, but you just want to make sure it doesn't tear easily. So this is definitely sturdy. And we're going to draw 2 circles on. I'm going to trace the cup. So the bigger the circle, the bigger the pom-pom. You know how it is. So these are my 2 circles, and I'm just going to chop them out. Now I have my 2 circles, same size, and I'm just going to cut a smaller circle on the inside. Okay, so now we get to choose what colour pom-pom we're going to do. So I was thinking maybe I'd just do a combination of all the wools I've done. Or we could look at my collection. You guys can tell me like what colour you think would go with it. So I just sit here and vibe, see what I'm vibing. Do you know what? This wool seems to have a lot of colours, doesn't it? That work? I don't know. Do you know what? I'm gonna go and ask my family what they recommend. So let's go. Let's go. Do you like my hat? This is my sister Karina. Say hello to my channel. So look at his hat. Yeah. Do you think the pom-pom should be all of these colours that are in the beanie already? Or, wait, you can hold them.
Including the purple?
Yeah, including the purple. Or do you think this one? Because this sort of has the colours.
These.
You think? Let's see what Snoop thinks. Which pile do you like, Snoop? Which pile do you like? Which one do you like, Snoop? I think Snoop's chosen this one. Alright, split decision now. This is my mum, Debbie. No. So this is my beanie, okay? Mm. Do you think that the top of it, the pom-pom, should have all these colours? Or do you think I should do the pom-pom with this colour? You like this one? Yes. Really?
Yes.
Do you like my hat? Yeah. That the top of it should have these colours. That's all the same I used.
Pom-pom?
Yeah, pom-pom. Or do you think it should be with this wool? What do you think?
I think that.
Yeah. This one?
That one.
That's 3 votes. Decided. So I'm going to be using this wool. All you need to do now, so what you do, just wrap some of the wool around your finger. You can do a bit of a time. Hold your 2 pieces together, and we're just going to, oops, no, we're just gonna wrap the wool around. See? Just wrap it around. And you're just going to do that all the way around and keep going until you can no longer fit your wool through this hole. Okay, so now you can see the hole is quite small. It's like really annoying to try and get the wool through. So I'm just going to like slip this under a couple of those so it doesn't come undone. You can see I've like crossed it across. Then now, with like a good pair of scissors, I'm gonna cut all the way around the perimeter of the circle. So we'll just sort of get under a couple of things here and just snip it, and going all the way around. And this is like the reason why you want to have like cardboard, because you really don't want your paper to break at this stage. So now that I've gotten down to the cardboard, it's going to be a lot easier to go around because I can follow along the cardboard. So now I've cut all the way through, and now you can see where the 2 circles meet. And I'm going to grab the same colour that's at like the very top. So it's this purple. I'm going to grab like this much, tie that around this part, and then tie like really tight, and do a few knots. Done 3. Then what you're going to do, you're carefully going to cut out the cardboard. You're going to carefully cut out the cardboard. So there's that. And then, so you can see I went, well, you can't really, but I went around it this way. So now I'm going to tie horizontal, like I'm going to go the opposite way, just to make sure it's like extra secure. So there's our cute little pom-pom. See, there's like a few bits that are like straggling out. You can go ahead and just snip them, but it should be pretty good. It's like rustic anyway, like it's self-made, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So now we have our pom-pom, we just gotta stick it on. Take this off. Getting your wool needle again, we are going to grab the end of like the pom-pom, one of the strings, and thread it through. And we're gonna find the top. We're gonna stick that through the middle. Thread both of those ends through. So you have 2 strings attached to the pom-pom. Oh, they're both through. I'm going to flip my work upside down. I'm going to flip it inside out again. Your string. I'll put it through the wool needle again. And I'll show you. This is the most secure way I found to attach the pom-pom, so that it has more surface area to grab onto. Because if you were to just tie it just at that top bit, it's only hanging on by like 1 stitch. So the more surface area you can grab it with, I feel like it's more secure. So what I'll do is thread this around in a circle. Just going to sort of piece it through. And I'll do this until I meet the other side. And then tie that together tight. And as I tie it together tight, you should feel that circle tighten too. And then just tie that in a few knots. And just to be extra sure, I'm going to do our trick we did before where we tie these in different parts. I really don't want this pom-pom to come off because, like, let's be real guys, it's the best bit. I'll snip those last 2 pieces, flip it around. So it's the next day. Here is the beanie. Show you it outside. So it sits on the head like this. So yeah.